right, and we're just going to wait for people to get in here. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our October Purple Chair Chat. My name is Rachel Moravik, and my pronouns are she, hers.
And my name is Evelyn Duvey, and my pronouns are she, hers.
We are both education and prevention specialists at Jana's campaign, and this Purple Chair Chat will be focusing on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. October is a super critical time for the anti-domestic violence movement, and we are excited to have this conversation with all of you. Purple Chair Chats are live conversations instilling the knowledge, skills, and values necessary to prevent gender and relationship violence. We use these discussions to raise awareness, engage bystanders, promote healthy and respectful relationships, and encourage the development of new social norms. Just a little bit of a content warning before we get going. I do want to mention that we will be discussing some difficult topics regarding gender and relationship violence that may be triggering for some. So please do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Some resources. If you are in need of resources or services and you don't know who to contact or who your local advocates are, please feel free to reach out to us and we will do our best to put you in contact with the right people. I'm also going to drop some great resources here in the comment section for you all in case you might need those. All right, awesome. There you go.
Thanks, Rachel. So I think starting off today, we want to talk a little bit about what is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, or what is DVAM, as we'll kind of be referring to it throughout this chat. Beginning with a little bit of brief history, let's go back to October of 1981 with the Day of Unity. So this Day of Unity was observed by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and its original intent was to connect advocates across the nation who were working to end violence against women and their children. This Day of Unity soon became an entire week devoted to a range of activities conducted at the local, state, and national levels. The activities conducted were varied and diverse, but they all kind of had these common themes, like mourning those who have died because of domestic violence, celebrating those who have survived, and connecting those who work to end this kind of violence. And the first DVAM itself was observed in October of 1987, which is actually the same year that marked the initiation of the first National Domestic Violence Toll-Free Hotline as well. And then in 1989, US Congress passed Public Law 101-112, which designated October officially as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which brings us to the passing of the Violence Against Women Act of 1994. Now, this 1994 bill was a huge milestone. It marked the first comprehensive federal legislative package that was specifically designed to end violence against women. And it was also a triumph for these women's groups who had been lobbying so hard to persuade Congress to legislate protections for women on the grounds that states were failing in their efforts to address domestic violence. And the Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA, included provisions on rape and battering that really focused on prevention and funding for victim services, and included the first federal criminal law against battering and a requirement that every single state afford full faith and credit to orders of protection issued anywhere in the United States. Since the passage of VAWA from law enforcement to victim services to Capitol Hill, there's been a major shift in how the issue of violence against women is addressed. And today, DVAM is acknowledged and celebrated all over the United States. Hundreds of DVAM activities are planned across the nation. National, statewide, and community-based organizations mark DVAM with things like recognition ceremonies, memorial activities, public education campaigns, community outreach events, and so much more. So why is DVAM so important, right? What's it for? Why is it necessary for us to have a whole month dedicated to domestic violence awareness? Well, the severity and the breadth of domestic violence is unfortunately still greatly underestimated by public opinion. Domestic violence occurs in relationships of any type, and it affects people of all genders, all backgrounds. It tends to be so much more than what people originally think. And it's not limited to physical abuse either. It includes verbal abuse, sexual coercion, financial abuse, and other toxic relationship behaviors that are extremely unsafe. DVAM is a time for us to do things like educate and prevent. With so many people speaking up in unified voices throughout October, we can raise our collective awareness about domestic violence to end abuse. And also by destigmatizing this issue, it ensures that people recognize these red flags and become more empowered to seek the help that they need. Similarly, DVAM is an excellent time to educate maybe unengaged or unaware bystanders of things they can do to help themselves and others, kind of what we do at Jana's campaign. And I mentioned this briefly a little earlier, but it's also a time for us to mourn and honor. So this month, we remember those who have lost their lives to domestic violence, and we share their very impactful stories, just like Jana's. Networking is also a huge component of DVAM, networking for change, because while everyone should believe survivors the first time around, more voices are undeniably louder together. And it's hard to ignore a wave of advocates and deny them their truths when enough people are standing by their sides. Because the more light we shed on the truth, the more we can wash out these misconceptions or misinformation that often arise regarding domestic violence. And with all these empathetic people supporting survivors, one of the most important things is that it lets abusers know loud and clear that we will not allow domestic violence to go on in any form. And finally, DVAM is a time to celebrate the work that is being done, how far we've come, and the huge changes and progress that's been made in making domestic violence a more frequently talked about topic. More resources being allocated to assist victims and survivors, the preventative work to stop the problem before it even arises, all of these really incredible things. And while we have made great strides, it's equally important to acknowledge that there are areas that still do need improvement and work that does still need to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. So what now? Where does work still need to be done? There are a lot of ways that DVAM and the DV awareness movement failed traditionally marginalized groups, especially Black women. Black women are often less likely to be associated with the concept of the typical woman and are viewed as more similar to Black men than to white women, which may lead to some social justice movements, including the domestic violence awareness movement, failing to properly advocate for Black and female identifying women. Black women are often overlooked in people's conversations about racism and sexism, even though they face a very unique combination of both of those forms of discrimination. This intersectional visibility, so you might hear it called, means that movements that are supposed to help Black women may be contributing to their marginalization. So DVAM and the entire movement, honestly, needs to have a more intersectional approach. Some organizations like the Domestic Violence Awareness Project are calling for this year's DVAM to center, celebrate, and follow the leadership of Black survivors, leaders, advocates, and frontline workers. They have this really amazing motto this year: no survivor justice without racial justice. And as Arlene Vassell writes in Here and There, an open letter to white women in the movement to end gender-based violence, the only way to end gender-based violence is shifting power and resources over here, the place that was created by Black women for Black people. Through blood, sweat, and tears, we've always been here. So what can you do this Domestic Violence Awareness Month? First one, get educated. Know the signs. The best ways to help is to know what to look for, whether the abuse is physical, emotional, financial, or mental. And then you need to be available, whether in person or over the phone or at work. Being present and available to talk about a person's relationship can help someone involved in a violent relationship know that they're not alone, that you were there for them to support them if they need it. And share resources, right? You're already educated now, so share those resources. Sometimes those experiencing violence may not be able to research ways to get out of a relationship because of a controlling partner. Maybe they're monitoring your internet use. So a great way to help someone in this situation is to be there and ready to develop an escape plan or find information about nearby shelters, resources, or legal practices. This may seem like a really small step, but it could be honestly the difference in someone staying in or leaving a toxic relationship. And then volunteer if you can. If you have the time, volunteering is a great way to give your time to the cause and make a difference in the lives of people who experience domestic violence. Shelters, hotlines, these are ideal places to get involved firsthand, help those who need it and gain a better understanding of the problem. And then social media activism, right? Like that's big right now. There's hashtags that people are using this month, like hashtag DVAM 2021, hashtag domestic violence awareness. I really like the hashtag one thing. This campaign believes change can start with just one thing. By doing the hashtag One Thing Challenge to raise awareness about domestic violence, we can all work together to create real social change. Use hashtag One Thing on social media to show everyone the one thing you're doing to end domestic violence this month. And then promote racial justice for survivors. We talked about that earlier, right? The Domestic Violence Awareness Project has tons of webinars, prevention tools, and reading materials dedicated to promoting racial justice. And I'll go ahead and put some of those in the comments as well, so you can check those out. And then support your local domestic violence agency. Ours, I don't know where you're watching from, but ours here in Hayes is Options Domestic and Sexual Violence Services. And I will paste those contacts in the chat for you as well.
Thanks for those resources, Rachel. And wrapping up today, again, we always appreciate you joining these Purple Chair chats, and we really love being able to have live conversations, helping to instill knowledge, skills, and values necessary to prevent gender and relationship violence. Again, if you are in need of resources or services and don't know who your local advocates are, reach out to us, check those links that Rachel has put in the chat, and we'll do our best to put you in contact with the right people. We hope you all enjoyed our special edition Purple Chair Chat for Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we will see you all next time. Bye.